Let me ask you a question. Is the Constitution something we ought to abide by, and is the Second Amendment still in place? Well, the president apparently believes that by executive order he can do a end run around the gun control provisions of the Second Amendment, which says the people's right to keep and bear arms shall not be abridged. But in any event, the gun control and the culture of violence in America are the hot topics in Washington today.
Well, all of that, especially after last month's tragic shootings in Connecticut. The vice president's meeting with the National Rifle Association and representatives from the entertainment industry as the White House tries to figure out what to do about gun violence. Charlene Israel has the story.
The NRA is likely to be the most powerful opponent of any White House moves gun owners see as a threat to their liberty and their Second Amendment rights.
The president has already called on Congress to act on an assault weapons ban, to act on a ban of high-capacity ammunition clips.
But some say a culture of violence also contributes to gun violence. That's why the president asked Vice President Joe Biden to focus not just on gun control and mental health issues, but also on the impact of violence in TV, movies, and video games. Studies have consistently shown that screen violence does have a negative effect on people, especially children.
Television consumption has been linked to a number of negative health associations and health outcomes in children. We know that kids who are exposed to high levels of violence in the media are more likely to become aggressive or act out violently. We know that kids who are exposed to high levels of sexual content in the media become sexually active earlier in life. It's also been associated with poor academic performance.
It is unclear what, if any, action will come from the meetings with the reps from entertainment and video game businesses. The government doesn't always agree that violence and entertainment are linked. In 2011, the Supreme Court struck down a California law banning the sale of violent video games to minors. While it's unclear what, if any, action the government will take against violence in entertainment, Biden has promised White House action on gun control. He didn't offer specifics, but that action could include presidential executive orders that don't need to be approved by Congress.
The president is going to act, or executive orders, executive action that can be taken. We haven't decided what that is yet.
Charlene Israel, CBN News.
Well, the best action the president can take is to enforce the existing laws. We understand the last 4 years there have been a decline, a dramatic decline in Justice Department enforcement of actions against people who commit crimes with guns. So it's rather hypocritical to say, well, I'm now going to do something. He's had 4 years to do something and he hadn't done it. Well, Congress has other things on its mind right now, like trying to cut Washington's massive federal deficits. Lee Webb has more on the battle over spending. Lee?
That's right, Pat. President Obama is nominating his chief of staff to be the new Treasury Secretary. Jack Lew will take over just as the White House and Congress gear up for the next round of battles over government spending. And some Republicans say they are willing to force a government shutdown in order to get the Democrats to go along with serious spending cuts. Well, the actions of Boston Mayor Tom Menino illustrate just how severe this flu season is.
I am declaring a public health emergency in the city of Boston.
Boston health officials have confirmed 700 cases of the flu. That's 10 times more than all of last season. This year, people started getting sick in October instead of January. The flu strain making most people sick this year is known as H3N2. It has a reputation for causing fairly severe illness, especially among older folks. Doctors say the best defense is still the flu shot. Many cities are now offering free vaccinations. Well, in less than 2 weeks, Israelis go to the polls to decide the country's leadership and direction. This election comes at a crucial time, and it could have a major impact on how Israel responds to the changing world around it. Chris Mitchell explains.
Israelis, like Americans 2 months ago, are being bombarded by political ads, including some messages with an edge for the young generation.
They are starting to understand here in the party and the politicians that if you want the youngest people to vote for you or to take the attention from them, so you need to do stuff like that.
Instead of a two-party system, more than 30 jam Israel's political landscape. They compete for 120 seats in Israel's parliament, Whoever wins the most seats must hammer together a coalition of 60 or more players to form the next government. Like the U.S., Israeli parties fall into the left or right. Dominating the right is the joint party of Benjamin Netanyahu and Avigdor Lieberman called Likud Beitenu. On the left of the spectrum is the Labor Party. The potential spoiler of this campaign is Naftali Bennett and his Jewish Home Party. So far, he's hurting Netanyahu by appealing to concerns the current prime minister may give up land to appease U.S. and European leaders. Recently, Bennett explained his biblical view of the land of Israel to CBN News.
You know, we had a state in this very land 3,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, and now we have it again. That is profoundly important from a Jewish and biblical standpoint.
The latest poll shows Netanyahu's party still in the lead with 34 seats, Labor with 21 seats, and Bennett's Jewish Home Party at 15 seats. But as many as 30% of Israelis say they're still undecided.
The Israeli voter is an emotional voter, and he decides X and then he goes on his way to the election, and he may change his mind.
That is why Netanyahu could face trouble.
I think Labour now has a chance of surprising. If we manage to get a blocking bloc of 60, we will be able to tilt the whole balance in Israeli politics, and we are not far away from that.
The Likud party maintains the country needs to stay the course.
Mr. Netanyahu needs, in my opinion, for the interest of the country, to stay in the lead. We are facing very, very powerful challenges in the near future.
It's likely Netanyahu will remain prime minister, but whoever leads Israel will face economic challenges at home, growing danger throughout the Middle East, and the often unwelcome presence of world opinion. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Any predictions, Pat?
I think Bibi will stay in power. He's very popular still, and these are some cross currents you find, but he will hold power. But who knows how weakened he's going to be. This Homeland Party has a great deal of appeal to the Jewish people. They're saying, look, we don't want to give up any more of our land. Big mistake to have given up Gaza some years ago. Big mistake. Look what the people are doing in Gaza, raining rocket attacks on Israel. Israel is surrounded now. There may be as many as 75,000 missiles. Some of them are Scuds aimed at Israel. And the possibility of some tragedy is very, very high. And so if there was ever a time that a country needed to come together, it was there. But, you know, you've got division all over the world. And that's one of the problems we've got, is that you just don't seem to find politicians who will work together. Again, the crisis in Israel is huge, just like the crisis here in America. Lee?
President Obama is planning a symbolic twist during the oath of office for his second term. He will place his hand not on one Bible, but two. One owned by Abraham Lincoln, the other by Martin Luther King, Jr. The inclusion of Dr. King's Bible is significant because the inauguration falls on January 21st, the day we honor the slain civil rights leader. Obama used the Lincoln Bible when he took his first oath of office 4 years ago. And now let's go back to Pat for a look at an important call to prayer at this year's inauguration. Pat?
Well, thank you. Mary Turner is joining us now from Washington. She'll be hosting an event called the Presidential Inaugural Prayer Breakfast. That's not an official event, but nevertheless, they're praying for our leaders and our nation. And Mary, tell us about this event. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning, Pat. Well, God called us in 1993 to begin to host an event to bring together people of faith to pray for the nation in the office of the presidency. So we're excited about continuing Ruth Ward Heflin's legacy of doing that. And it's a real honor and a privilege to be bringing together government leaders and foreign ambassadors with leaders such as yourself that are praying for our nation and expecting to see God bring revival as we take a stand in Washington, D.C.
Is there a particular theme, or is it just the idea, let's pray for America?
The theme is from Esther 4:13, that we're called to the kingdom for such a time as this. And so just as in You know, 20 years ago when I was called to take a stand for the unborn, my case was eventually appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. And we tried to establish personhood for the unborn, but in a similar way, God is calling us to stand for the soul of this nation right now. And if we don't do it, then help will arise from somewhere else. But He would choose to use us. And so we're going to take communion on inauguration morning. And God is going to rededicate this nation to Himself. And so it's a unique opportunity to come together and stand with others across denominational lines and across political party lines. So we have yourself, of course, you're going to be with us, as well as Michelle Bachmann, as well as Rabbi Jonathan Cahn, who's going to be speaking about the destiny of America and the judgments of God and what we must do now as the church.
I guess the president's going to be too busy that day getting inaugurated to come to another meeting. Is that right?
We hope that he may stop in for a few minutes, and there's someone meeting with his faith-based office as we speak. So we are encouraging people to go to our website at pipb2013.com and to make your reservations.
Well, Mary, thank you so much, and thank you for what you're doing, and let's hope that the Lord, among other things, will hear the prayers of His faithful people. God bless you.
Amen. God bless you, Pat.
Opponents of gay marriage are disappointed the Washington National Cathedral will now perform same-sex weddings, though they're not surprised. The Episcopal Church operates the cathedral, and Peter Sprigg with the Family Research Council says the denomination has been moving away from Christian orthodoxy on the subject of sexuality for years. A spokesman for the National Organization of Marriage says this week's announcement from the church shows marriage is really an all-or-nothing deal. He also says Americans must ask if they want to fundamentally give up traditional marriage. School officials in one Ohio town are refusing to remove a large portrait of Jesus on display at a middle school. The painting is just like this one, and it was donated by a group of students to Jackson Middle School in 1947. The Freedom from Religion Foundation is demanding that the school remove it. They call the picture an unconstitutional endorsement of Christianity. But about 300 people showed up to support the painting at a school board meeting Tuesday night. The district superintendent says it has historical significance and will remain. The portrait hangs in the school's Hall of Honor among numerous other faces. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.